Started here in just a minute.
Good afternoon. We'll begin in just 1 minute, waiting for some folks to join the call. Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you to today's webinar here hosted by the City of Charleston on Mobility Month, which is what we celebrate in May in Charleston. And we're really excited to host this forum to highlight the progress in our city and region to enhance alternative and sustainable modes of transportation. In addition to some of the partners we have here today presenting, the Berkeley, Charleston, Dorchester Council of Governments and Charleston News, the City of Charleston would like to extend a special thanks to our team members in the Charleston Sustainability Alliance, Charleston County MUSC, the College of Charleston, and Keep Charleston Beautiful that routinely partner with the City of Charleston on sustainability initiatives and help make today possible. My name is Kaylin Cazella, and I'm the Communications and Projects Manager here in the Mayor's Office of Resilience and Sustainability, and will be your moderator today. Before we begin our program, we have a few housekeeping rules to go over. This presentation is being recorded, so Andrew, that's your cue that you can start recording us if you haven't. And for the ease of our presentation, please have your mics muted and your cameras off. We will be taking questions and answers at the end of all of our presentations today. So if you have a question, please place it in the chat box. Again, we thank you for being here today. We will be having the mayor join us just briefly in a few minutes for a few remarks. So we will wait for him for a minute or two, but I think we will start and go over the agenda here. Let me place that slide. So we'll start with updates from the City of Charleston with our projects and initiatives, and then we will have a presentation by our partners at the Berkeley, Charleston, Dorchester Council of Governments on their critical project updates, including Low Country Rapid Transit and CARTA. And we will end with a presentation from Charleston News and their initiatives. And then we'll end the program with question and answers. I'm still not seeing the mayor on the line yet, so I will go ahead and we will get started with the city's portion of the program today. So first, we're going to start talking about two critical city projects that were both awarded, fortunate to receive U.S. Department of Transportation's grant funding. First, we're going to kick off with talking about an update on the Low Country Low Line, which is the city's 2-mile linear park with bicycle and pedestrian paths that will run at the spine of the peninsula and improve connections to the centers of downtown in the forthcoming Low Country Rapid Transit. As you can see, we have a timeline up here. Last August 2022, the city was awarded a $7 million raised planning grant from the U.S. Department of Transportation for pre-construction activities on the Low Country Low Line. The city is currently working with our federal partners at the U.S. Department of Transportation to finalize a grant agreement in order to begin receiving the federal funding for the Low Line project. This process began in November of 2022 and is estimated to take anywhere between 6 to 12 months. The planning grant funding will be used for robust and equitable community engagement to ensure that the final design is what the nearby neighborhoods and residents want to see. It will also be used for design and engineering specifications, project management, and environmental remediation. Given that the low line sits, excuse me, go ahead here. Given that the low line property exists on an industrial site, we anticipate that there's going to be a lot of cleanup of the soil that we know will be necessary to comply with DHEC regulations and ensure that the green space and trails are a healthy environment for the community. Survey work is currently underway on the site, and that was going to help develop the scope of the cleanup needed. The goal of the low line will be a safer and more resilient Charleston. The low line was an appealing project for federal investment, as the federal government and the city are committed to reconnecting the communities that were historically disadvantaged as a result of the previous infrastructure decisions. This grant will provide leverage for future federal investment in the low line as we move from the planning to construction phase. So stay tuned for more updates on the low line. We probably anticipate to see our finalized grant agreement hopefully by the end of the summer, but you'll see updates from the city on that. And once we have that finalized grant agreement, we will be able to begin spending dollars on the planning aspects of the project. So the next city project that we'd like to highlight is the Ashley River Crossing. It's a transformative project that will bring a safer connection for bicyclists and pedestrians from West Ashley to downtown Charleston. I'm going to turn it over to our Director of Parks, Jason Kronsberg, to give a brief update on the Ashley River Crossing. Jason?
Thank you, Kaylin. Good afternoon, everybody. You can see the imagery in front of you, which identifies the milestones. We received the grant in 2019. It, at the time, was the federal build grant. We launched the project in 2020, went through a series of conceptual design studies. We went through the NEPA process, public meetings, and again, the environmental documentation to satisfy all of the NEPA requirements. In 2022, we started our procurement process. We went through a very robust process of issuing an RFQ and pre-approving design teams based on that work. So that is the boilerplate kind of update currently. And I'll say that the Ashley River Crossing project is certainly a unique project, since it's the first time that a municipality has been a direct grant recipient from the Federal Highway Administration. Typically, it goes through states and counties versus municipalities. So we've been working very closely with the Federal Highway Administration, following their processes for the grant. Currently, we are in a confidential negotiations and procurement process to verify bids from the two teams that were shortlisted during the RFQ process, and we're hopeful to have an update within the next 30 days that can be published out to the public sector. So again, we're in that confidential procurement process, and hope to be wrapping that up in about 30 days. So that's where we are. We're excited about the project. You can see the image in front of you was the concept that was developed for the grant application. And it would be a standalone bike ped bridge alongside the Legree Bridge crossing the Ashley River as a safety project to get people across the river safely. So that's the update.
Thanks, Jason. I know everybody's will stay tuned for some more detailed information on that within the next 30 days when we're able to speak at that from the federal government's perspective. So next in our city projects that we'll be talking about and initiatives today, we'll be hearing from our Director of Transportation, Robbie Somerville, here at the city about our partnership with Lime Bikes and the relaunch of Charleston Spokes. Robbie, please take it away.
Thank you, Kaylin. Again, this is Robbie Somerville, Director of City of Charleston Traffic and Transportation, and I'm here to talk to you about Charleston Spokes, our current bike share program. Now, the city first launched the bike share back in 2016, and May 6th of 2022 was our 1-year anniversary, was when we signed the contract with Lime, in which, of course, we just had our 1-year anniversary with them, and we've been very happy and pleased with how we've progressed in that 1-year period. As you see, this program is to give other alternate modes of transportation within the city of Charleston. You'll see on this slide where it talks about we had like 21,000 car trips that's been replaced from people using our current bike system, 13 metric tons of carbon emissions saved, and 15,000 gallons of gas, which is tremendous efforts in a 1-year period with Charleston Spokes. So Charleston Spokes, we do have 3-year with 5 1-year option to renew contract. So basically we have 7 more years that we look forward to working with Charleston Spokes to expand this program. Right now, the program is settled on the peninsula only. They have a geofencing system to where you can only operate the bikes, which are a pedal assisted bike, that can only be operated on the peninsula. But as Jason Kronsberg was indicating with the pedestrian Ashley River Crossing Bridge, that will allow us to expand over into West Ashley and James and Johns Island, and even a program over into Daniel Island. So we're very excited about that, and we just look forward to continue to work with Lime Bike Share Program, and partnership with the MUSC, and continue for this to grow.
Thank you, Robbie. And Robbie, did you have an exciting announcement about the capacity at the Traffic and Transportation Department increase with focus on mobility efforts as well? If you wanted to touch on that really quickly.
Well, yes, we City Council was able to approve our traffic project manager position within our department, in which that person will deal strictly with transportation related projects. Of course, we're looking to do all we can do with alternative modes of transportation, and the project manager will look at how we can implement shared use paths to include bike lanes and other modes of transportation within the city. So we're very excited about filling that position, the transportation project manager, and just to move forward within the city.
Thanks, Robbie, for that exciting update. Next, we'll move in the city to Katie McCain, our Director of Sustainability. She'll speak about our initiatives to increase electric vehicles here within the city's own fleet, but also as well as to expand and incentivize electric vehicle infrastructure. Katie, I'll go ahead and stop sharing my screen so you can share yours. Okay.
Great. All right. Well, hi, everybody. Robbie, that new position is so exciting. I'm thrilled to see that in the partnership with planning, which we'll hear about soon. So today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the progress that we're making with our electric vehicle charging stations. So there's actually all kinds of action happening at multiple levels. So I'll start first talking about our federal and state actions. Then there's also regional actions happening in the metro, and then of course, local actions too here at the city level. So our goal in this is to just support a convenient and reliable and affordable and equitable charging experience for all. So there are maps all over the internet of charging stations that exist today. Here's a map showing the charging stations across the state. You can see there's a lot of them. You can also see that there's still a lot of gaps, especially on our interstate highway systems. So this information is available online. In a really exciting project that's happening to activate those highway systems at the federal and state level is the National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Program, or the NEVI program. This is $4.2 billion of formula funding that was allocated back in the infrastructure law in 2021. And it's basically a 5-year program that allows every state to create a plan to activate their alternative fuel corridors, which are basically their major highways and state roads that are designated for alternative fuel. So the state of South Carolina has started planning to use our funding, and they will actually be kicking off a program, another plan they are just starting to procure the consultants for, and they will be asking for input from the community members and from people like you and from states and cities and all kinds of folks to provide input to this process. So this is going to be a 5-year project. The public engagement will begin hopefully this summer, and then contracts will start for construction in late 2024. This is the anticipated timeline, with construction starting in 2025. And basically this means that this would allow our highway system to have DC fast chargers, or the fast charger stations that can charge a vehicle in under an hour, at least every 50 miles throughout the interstates, throughout the whole country. So it's a pretty exciting project. There is the Department of Transportation for the state has a whole website dedicated to this. You can sign up for updates so you know what the latest of what is happening. So when we go down to the regional level, here's a different map. This is a PlugShare map. It's a great app you can download. And this shows you the charging stations that are all over the Charleston region. So you can see there's probably more than most people think there are. Some of these are private. So for example, if a hotel has a charging station, it's open to their guests. So here at the regional level, we are working with the BCD COG, who we're thrilled to have on the line here with us today, to develop a regional charging infrastructure plan. And this is going to be a chapter that's part of the CHAT's long-range transportation plan. There are over 30 partners collaborating in this effort across the Lowcountry region, which is really exciting. We have over 100 stakeholders involved, and we really appreciate the COG's leadership on this. The idea is once we can create this plan, figure out exactly where the charging stations should go, then we can take that plan and apply for a federal funding opportunity to help implement that plan. And it would cover up to 80% of the cost to implement that plan. So it's pretty exciting that we can use a smaller local match to generate larger results by leveraging some of the funding that came out of the infrastructure law and the Inflation Reduction Act. Exciting news, our city fleet just received our first 2 electric vehicles. They are Nissan Leafs, so this was pretty exciting. We did our ribbon cutting earlier this month. You can see Mayor Tecklenburg in the vehicle here. So there's lots of efforts happening at the local level too. And we are going to use those 2 new electric vehicles as pilot projects to sort of test some of our processes, procedures, see how often we need to charge vehicles, things like that. So one of the top items on our radar is to actually create a plan to transition our entire city fleet. And that would, of course, include charging infrastructure. And we've identified funding in the Energy Efficiency Conservation Block Grant to be able to execute that strategy. So we're hoping we can start on that project this summer. And then the same thing, once we create that plan, then we can go after some of the massive amount of federal funding available through the Inflation Reduction Act to help implement that plan and pay for some of these new vehicles. There are also all kinds of other tax credits and advantages that I'll talk about in a moment. Also in the city level, our capital projects team is making sure that, all of our new city facilities are being designed so they are EV ready, we call. So they have the infrastructure, they have the transformer capacity, they have the conduit in place. So it's really easy to go back and install charging stations as demand ramps up. This is really important because it saves a lot of money if you can put that infrastructure in upfront rather than having to go back and rip up concrete. This is the same reason we are proposing this third item here, which is a zoning proposal for EV ready in new construction. So we are working with the development community to take that same notion of, let's make sure all new construction, think of multifamily buildings where people don't necessarily have control of the parking in that area. Typically an HOA does, making sure that all these buildings have that EV ready infrastructure. So when the need comes to install the station, it's really easy and affordable. So that proposed code amendment will be on the agenda for the Resilience and Sustainability Advisory Committee that will meet on June 1st. And you can find information about that online too. Let's see, in our zoning code, we already have some electric vehicle charging references in there. We incentivize the actual stations to be installed and all the supporting infrastructure in our Upper Peninsula zoning district. So we are actually seeing all kinds of new large development projects in the Upper Peninsula, such as the Morrison Yards Apartments, the Cormac Apartments up at 1310 Meeting, and the apartments on Romney Street, all putting in electric vehicle charging stations for their new tenants. So that's pretty exciting to see that it's already happening and we're incentivizing it that way. And our next step is to start requiring the base infrastructure. And then finally, in our city parking garages, so we currently have 8 electric vehicle charging stations in our garages. And this year in our budget, I'm excited to announce that we approved funding to replace those charging stations. They've been in place since about 2010, so they're starting to get older. Replace them with what we would call dual port stations. So that means each station would now have 2 ports. So we'd basically be doubling the capacity to charge vehicles. So we'll go from 8 stations to 16 stations. And this will happen sometime this year. We hope it will be completed by the end of 2023 or early 2024. So we're really excited about that. We will also be looking at our other parking garages as part of the regional infrastructure plan, where we're working with all the partners to figure out demand modeling and where the stations should go. And then finally, if you are interested in, doing some research on electric vehicles, charging infrastructure for your home or for your office, I just wanted to point out that there are all kinds of incentives to do this, to not only help pay for the vehicles themselves, but also for the charging infrastructure. So specifically in their Inflation Reduction Act, the light duty EV credit continued at $7,500. There's some requirements that go with that, of course. There's also a new used electric vehicle credit also, which is pretty exciting. There's also a charging equipment tax credit. So that can help cover the cost of installation of, retrofitting a garage or an office space. And also new this year is a commercial electric vehicle tax credit. So that's actually really helpful for city government, but also for businesses. So the 2 electric vehicles we purchased, we're going to be able to apply for this $7,500. And because we're a nonprofit, we can actually apply for a direct payment rather than a tax credit. So it's just $7,500 off the purchase price of those 2 vehicles. So that's pretty exciting news. I will also say, unrelated to the IRA, but also the state of South Carolina right now is considering an alternative fuel tax credit, and that could also help with infrastructure improvements. So there's all kinds of resources and incentives out there. And if you're looking to learn more, this is a great time to do it. And I'll turn it back to you, Kaylin.
Thanks, Katie, for that really helpful update. Finally, on the city's end, we'll be hearing from a brief presentation from our city's Director of Civic Design, Morgan Gunlock, and the city's Planning Manager, Christopher Morgan, to discuss the city's planning efforts surrounding mobility, including the city's People Pedal Plan and new positions recently funded in the city to focus specifically on mobility planning. Morgan, I have your slides, so I will go ahead and start to share my screen, but I'll turn it over to you, Morgan.
Thanks, Kaylin. Hi, everybody. So we're going to talk about the People Pedal Plan. And the People Pedal Plan, if you haven't heard of it, is our vision for a robust urban bikeway system on the Charleston Peninsula. This bikeway network would be composed of segments and intersections and recommends a variety of bike infrastructure types like bike lanes, sharrows, cycle tracks. And we want the system to be good for all modes of travel. So that's vehicles, pedestrians, as well as bicycles. This is the first comprehensive bicycle infrastructure study for downtown Charleston and is a vital first step in creating a multimodal transportation system. The document itself, so the report, is available online with more maps and more visuals to help explain the plan. So you can see on the screen here on the right, that's our ideal vision network of what bike infrastructure could look like on the peninsula, identifying which corridor and which road would fit what type of bike infrastructure. Can you go to the next slide, please, Kaylin? Thank you. So these are the high points on the plan that you need to know. The plan is better for traffic. So providing space for bicyclists in the roadway creates a safe and predictable location for where those bike riders will be, which helps take away some of the congestion from vehicles and that nerve-wracking feeling of driving next to a bike or next to a car. We're talking about paint and not curb work. Charleston streets are very narrow, especially when compared to other municipalities or other downtown areas. And a lot of our streets are historic. So we're looking at paint solutions that work within the existing right-of-way. Number 3, unlocking the grid. Because the peninsula is so small and so localized, it would be very easy for people to ride a bike if there was comfortable facilities provided. So that's a big goal for the plan. Number 4, SCDOT and NACDO, and the plan is based on demonstration projects and standards in the real world, but most of these are adapted for the unique Charleston context. A big challenge is the South Carolina Department of Transportation, or SCDOT, and I think when in doubt, we always use the North American City Transportation Officials, or NACDO, Urban Bikeway Design Guidelines as our reference point for what good bike infrastructure looks like in an urban area. The number 5 design formula for the People Pedal Plan, again, that's more of the specific calibration to Charleston streets and the acknowledgement that this plan is a guideline, a guiding document, and may need to change as we go forward. And number 6, this is the place to start. So this is the vision for what a complete urban bikeway system could look like on the peninsula, as opposed to, and really talks about what that final vision could look like. But we still need the individual designs for each and every segment and intersection. Can you go to the next slide, please, Kaylin? Great. So what we've been able to accomplish so far on the People Pedal Plan is, you may have seen them around town, are sharrows, which are a shared lane marking, which indicates to bikes and motor vehiclists that the bike has a place in the street, and this is a safe street for bikes to be on and share the road with vehicles. You may have seen them on B Street. There's some on St. Margaret Street, John Street. They're over by Waterfront Park on Bendu Range. They're quite common around the city now because we've been installing them. We've also started on kind of the next rung up the ladder, which is bike lanes. So if any of you have been up to Brigade Street, you will see protected bike lanes with bike crossings that go from I-26 over to just past Morrison Drive. And this is a 5 foot wide bike lane with a protected buffer space that has bollards in it to separate the bikes from the car. And it also provides bike crossing at those intersections. So we are making progress. It's a little slow, but we're getting there. Thanks, Caitlin.
Thanks, Morgan. I know Christopher Morgan, a planning manager from our planning department, is also on the line. Christopher, I didn't know if you wanted to say a few words just about some of the exciting, also similar to Robbie, hiring positions that the planning department has specifically related to mobility.
Absolutely. And speaking of making progress, we were very happy that our council approved funding for a new position within our department that we are calling the mobility planner. And this is going to be a planner who will look at all our projects that are under review, new development projects that are in the city, to make sure that they all have the greatest extent possible of planning for pedestrians, for bicyclists, for transit use. It will also look at all our plans and making sure that those are as friendly as possible to all modes of transportation. So it's something that we've never had before in our department, and we're super excited about having it. We hope to have this person on board by the summer and be able to have that extra level of review that is a much needed aspect of all our work.
Thanks, Christopher, and the rest of the city team here for our city update. A reminder, if anyone has questions throughout the program, please put them in the chat box. I see Katie already answered one. We had a question asking what a bike box was, and she put the link to that there. So thank you, Katie, for that. We will next move to our partners over at the Berkeley, Charleston, Dorchester Council of Government to give an update on Low Country Rapid Transit and as well as CARTA. And will be Morgan Grimes. She's a communications and outreach specialist at the COG, as well as Michelle Emerson, a marketing and communications manager over at BCDC COG as well. So Morgan, I will go ahead and let you share your screen, please.
All right, thank you so much, Caitlin. We went ahead and shared our screen, and I'm going to let Michelle kick off with some updates regarding CARTA.
We can hit it right down there to get it. Sorry, there we go.
Did you want the camera?
Sure. Let's see if we can get that. Okay. Okay, can everyone see our screen?
We got your screen and we got your camera. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, again, thank you guys for having us here. We appreciate it. I'm going to kind of kick it off and give you guys just a few updates, high-level updates on CARTA and some of the programs, some related programs that are very helpful. And then we'll have Morgan, and she'll come back and kind of tell you what we have going on with LCRT and moving into the future. And as we all emerge from the pandemic, we're all trying to get back on track or figure out a new track or develop tracks. And CARTA continued to run service throughout the pandemic. And we, as we work to get all of our positions filled, we are very excited about the direction that we are going. We continue to maintain and introduce some items to improve service and enhance the customer experience throughout the pandemic. A few of those, and over the last few years as well, a few of those services include Route 20, which continues to be free in the downtown area. That is very important because we know that there are still a lot of folks who have some issues getting to grocery stores. And so this allows them to have really good access in some of those areas where it may still be considered a food desert. We increase frequency on Route 31. Meaning that riders have less time that they have to wait in between buses. And Route 31 was one of our routes that had the longest of those times. So that was great. And then we also introduced safe crossings for Route 32, which links West Ashley into North Charleston, allowing folks, because it's very dangerous to cross that North Bridge. And so it allows pedestrians to ride the bus for free from one end of the bridge to the other. And for that short period, if there are the bike rack is actually full, we do allow them to put that on board. So those are just some of the services that we actually introduced over the last couple of years, and that we're wanting to make sure that everybody is aware that it's still out there. We also, since 2019, have introduced or are in the process of introducing 37 standalone benches and 52 solar shelters, which is great and incredible for the customer experience. It helps to provide a little bit more visibility for our drivers to make sure that they're seeing customers that are out there. And it also helps, of course, with our riders staying out of the elements. We also introduced 147 solar lights, which makes a tremendous difference. And we are working on getting more of those out there. And as you can see from the slides, that picture that is at night, it absolutely helps to provide more visibility. It makes it much more safer for folks who are waiting on the bus. And again, it allows for a lot more visibility for our drivers when they are actually picking up riders. Some of the programs that we introduced, mobile bus passes, we introduced that, I believe, about a year ago. And so this makes it much more convenient for riders, potential riders, to purchase passes. They simply can go download Token Transit. The first purchase, they still have it at 50% off, and they can purchase their passes and it stays in their phone. And when they get on the bus, it helps to improve how fast people get on, which helps to improve our efficiency and make sure that we're running on time. But it also helps the efficiency for the customer, and it can actually save them money to make sure that they are getting the most out of the money that they're actually spending. So that is a great addition to, and we've been asked about for a while. And so we were able to introduce that, and that's going really well. Carta on Demand is a program that we also introduced about a year or so ago. And that's a program where we partnered with Uber. This started out as a pilot program in the downtown area, and it was received so well that we did expand it. It is for riders who are seniors 55 and older, and Carta Teleride customers. And it is a partially subsidized trip where we will pay a portion of that trip that they take. Our Carta Teleride customers are automatically enrolled in the program. They just need to let us know that they want to participate, and we'd send them a voucher. And our seniors 55 and older, they fill out a very simple application at ridecarta.com. And we'll put that in the chat box if necessary. And they just fill out that application. We send them a voucher, and then they're able to use it. And essentially it works as the customer will pay the first $4. We'll pay the $21, so it's a subsidy up to $25, and then the customer pays anything after that for, I believe it's about 20 rides for all of the customers. So again, this is something that has been very well received, and we're excited to be able to bring it to folks. It helps people to make sure that they're keeping their medical appointments, but it also gives them a little bit of freedom throughout the Charleston area, the Carta service area. And that any information as far as what the timing is, all of that information is on our website, and it can be reached by emailing public comment at BCDCOG or calling the number. And again, we can put that in the chat after the presentation. Low Country Van Pool, we wanted to make sure that we got that information out as well, give you an update on that. This is a program that we started, and we have a few folks that have taken advantage of it. It's a great program to help, again, the same thing, initiative that Carta is, taking cars off the road and providing more mobility to our community. This is right in that same vein. Our van pools are basically, it's a carpool, but we give you the van, or we allow you to use the van. It only takes from 4 to 15 passengers, and it does have to be used for a commute. And initially, the starting rate is only $30 per person. We pay for the gas. We also provide the insurance, and so it's definitely a win-win. We can explain a whole lot more about that and give you a lot more information about that. We have our van pool coordinator, Courtney Cherry's information, and we'll put that in the chat as well. But again, this is a great way for folks. A lot of times it's good if your schedule does not maybe fit what Carta does, or for folks who are having issues with mobility. And we do know that that is one of the main challenges in keeping gainful employment. So we want to make sure that everyone knows that that is available. We have 7 and 15 passenger vans, I believe, that are available. We also wanted to touch on our Beach Reach shuttle, which will be starting again for its 3rd season, I believe. And we're excited that we're coming back for another year. And again, this is about reducing traffic, taking cars off the road, and improving, parking and enjoyment in our beautiful area. And so that service will start for Memorial Day, and it runs until Labor Day. You'll be hearing a lot more about that as we go as well. It's a free trip. again, it takes cars off the road, but it also provides a lot of accessibility for people who may not have been able to get to the beach in the past. It is a simple connection, especially from the downtown area. It's just one bus over and then transfer to the absolute free shuttle. And we run from about 9 till about 5 in the evening. So it's a great shuttle. We've got a great contest going on right now. Follow us on Facebook with Ride Carter, and you can find out information about that. And we'll also have winning weekends as we go through. One other thing I wanted to touch on right before I do these last couple of slides is you can expect a whole lot more as we go into the summer. We've got a lot of exciting things that are going to be going on. So just listen out. Again, follow us where you can, and we will definitely, you'll definitely see and hear a whole lot more as we get into the summer, just kind of teasing that out there a little bit. Currently, moving into the future, what we're doing right now is there is a downtown Charleston transit study going on. The goal with that is improving transit in the downtown area. Currently, we're evaluating needs and opportunities to improve service and making sure it aligns with what is upcoming with LCRT and the long range transportation plan. And so this QR code, what we would like at this point, this portion of the study is that we're getting a lot of public feedback. And so we wanted to make sure that we got the survey information out there for everyone. And we encourage you to share the information. We'll also put the link in the chat box, or you can scan the QR code that is on your screen to fill out that survey and give us some really good information so that we can move forward with that study. And with that, I'll turn it over to Morgan, and she'll talk about some of what we have going into the future with LCRT.
Yes. Hello, everyone. Great to chat with you all about Low Country Rapid Transit. I'm going to keep this pretty brief. I know most of you are probably familiar with the background of Low Country Rapid Transit and why it has been in the planning process. But just going back, to 2014, we saw that there is just a huge need for mass transit in the Charleston region. It's no surprise people are moving here every single day, every single minute. And so we need to find a way to, deal with this roadway congestion. And we really can't, widen our way out of those traffic problems. So out of a lot of studies that CAW conducted came BRT, which, as you see on the screen, is high capacity mass transit, has a lot of great features that you would see with light rail. But the great thing is it's still buses. So it's flexible, it's cost effective. It works downtown in the peninsula where we deal with flooding and other different scenarios. So there's great benefits with BRT systems, as you can see, and I definitely want to highlight just the connectivity that this system brings. So one thing is, having room for bicycles on board and just making sure that it's not only the bus that will be the improvement, but also the crosswalks and the sidewalks and multi-use paths. So that's a great feature of BRT. So just a brief overview of the stations. It will run from Latson to downtown, 20 stations along the line. Down in the peninsula, it will run in mixed traffic, so with other cars, and we will be excited to use technology to keep the buses on schedule. Here is just a view of what you can imagine the station areas to look like. I don't know if I said this yet, but if you aren't aware, it will have a dedicated bus lane on Rivers Avenue, which is going to be very groundbreaking for the region. And that's just to help to keep the buses on schedule. So there will be that center running bus lane with the stations in the center, and downtown Charleston and mixed traffic, it will run on the side. Here's just some features that you can expect to see at the station areas, as well as we wanted to include some visuals of what you can imagine the system to look like. So this is that center running dedicated bus lane in North Charleston, and then downtown Charleston at Hughie Street, there's a side running station. So like I mentioned, a huge part of Bus Rapid Transit is just all the improvements that it brings just for anybody, whether you're biking, walking, taking the bus, even driving in your car, you'll see a lot of those great improvements in the roadways. Currently right now, Rivers Avenue is very dangerous for people to be on right now. So there's a lot of accidents, unfortunately. So here are some highlighted improvements that we're looking forward to. And one thing I want to touch on is TOD. TOD, transit-oriented development, basically means improving places where people can work, live, and play, in short. It's looking at all of the station areas along the corridor and how we can protect the existing communities, but also plan smartly for the future, because we all know that people are coming to the area, and so we need to have plans in place for that growth. So here's just some things that we have been looking looking at with TOD. It is a standalone study, but it's working in conjunction with LCRT. And this is what we've done in the past. So affordable housing is a big part of TOD, looking at the different station area plans, place type definitions, policy toolkits. And one thing that's pretty exciting is we just entered our phase 2 of TOD. And so we've kicked that off and we're working just to gain a lot of knowledge right now from stakeholders. One thing that we have identified is the need to do a lot of stakeholder engagement in the community this summer. So we're excited to do that with TOD, really find out what residents are thinking about, what they want to see at station areas. So here are some things that we're looking forward to working on through this process. And like I mentioned, we kicked off recently, and then it will go throughout this year with many studies and opportunities for you all to get involved. Here's just some other information about the project. We do have the cost. It is split this way, federally and locally. And then just to end, we are currently in the engineering phase for the project. This is what we did before with the planning, and then we're in that engineering phase. We do anticipate construction to begin around 2026 with the system opening in 2028. And one thing we like to just highlight, of course, is the engagement that goes on with this project. Last year, this was a great event we hosted here at the COG with many local partners, and we were happy to welcome Representative Clyburn and Secretary Buttigieg to our offices, and they spoke very highly of the project. One big thing, of course, is just communicating with everybody and making sure that everybody is able to, provide their feedback and input. And that leads kind of into community, that might be the last slide, but just community and stakeholder engagement and how important it is. So what I'll do is I'll put my information in the chat, because what we want to do is continue engagement with you all and the residents, the neighborhoods, churches, business owners, you name it. Everybody needs to have a say with this project. Everybody holds an important stake. So we're going to continue engagement, and we look forward to hearing from you all and just continuing that process along the way. But that is all we have. I think there is a question, but Kaylin, I don't know if you want to go ahead and take over before.
Sure. I guess since we both have you on the line, quickly before we move over to the last part of our presentation, Lauren did ask your team if there's any plans, conversations about expanding CARTA Express to Johns Island.
So I believe that the best answer for that is currently we have Tri-County Link, which is our rural transportation provider. And I do know that a lot of the discussion currently is about increasing frequency and increasing that particular service so that it can connect with CARTA at that point in time. I think that that's probably the best answer, or the one that is actually going to take place sooner. CARTA has to operate what is considered an urban area. And so again, the further out we go, that's where we work in conjunction with other ones. But Tri-County Link is also under BCD COGS. So the COGS position has been to align both programs as much as possible so that there will be ease of use between the two systems. So you won't feel like it's two systems, it'll be a consistent flow. And so that's probably what is upcoming sooner than later. And so we already have some commuter services for Tri-County Link. And so I believe that the goal is to try to improve those and to have something that will be coming out to Johns Island.
Thank you very much, both Michelle and Morgan. If you could please stop sharing your screen, that would be great. And then we will move along to our next and final presenter. Definitely last but not least, Katie Zimmerman, the Executive Director for our city's partner in advocacy, Charleston Moves. So take it away, Katie. We can't wait to hear what you're working on.
Thanks, y'all. Are you able to see my slides?
We can. We don't see them in like full page format.
Oh, well, I know we're running out of time, so let me let's fix. There we go.
There we go.
Okay, and don't worry, I'll fly so that we don't impede the Q&A section. So hi all. If for those of you who are on this and you don't know who Charleston Moves is, we are a nonprofit group. It serves Charleston County, advocating for safe, connected, equitable and accessible biking, walking, and public transit throughout the county. And that involves both infrastructure and complementary policy needed to get that infrastructure in place. And, you know, these are all the ways why we do what we do. Mobility choice is so important for our region. And, you know, that means equitable opportunities for everybody. So not everybody can afford a car. Not everybody wants to afford a car. Our community is on the front lines of climate change impacts, dealing with resilience. We happen to also be one of the most dangerous areas in the nation when it comes to biking and walking, fatalities and injuries. We also happen to have the most dangerous drivers in the nation, always in the top 10. So there are disproportionate impacts to certain communities, particularly in South Carolina, to Black communities and to senior communities. So we want to make sure that we're giving everybody the access that they need in order to be successful and living in a thriving community. And there we go. So just a few things. I'm limiting what I'm talking about today to just City of Charleston related projects that are sort of happening right now. One of those things is we participate often with South Carolina Department of Transportation. They do road safety audits. They pick the most dangerous corridors in the state. That involves assessing the data, the collision data, and then walking the corridor to see what's going on. So downtown Charleston has 4 of the most dangerous corridors in the state: King and Meeting below Line, as well as Calhoun and St. Philip streets. So those road safety audits were conducted. Suggestions were made several years ago. The agency came up with some concepts for improvements, and those concepts all work together. There's a bit of give and take in order to provide what they've proposed, things like pedestrian scrambles at key intersections, a bike lane on King Street, a 2-way cycle track on St. Philip. All of those work together as a system. And so we are now waiting for the city to sign the agreement with SCDOT. And if you're interested, we have a petition, particularly for the King Street bike lane, because again, it's a system that we want to see all working together. You pull one part of the project out to not move forward, and that impacts every other thing that's suggested. So we want to make sure everything is being discussed and analyzed the way it has been for the past several years. In addition, we are very focused on the Wapoo Bridge. It is extremely unpleasant and dangerous to walk or ride over. It links up to the future Ashley River crossing, to improvements on Maybank, to the Rethink Folly Road project, schools, neighborhoods, churches, businesses, all the places we all want to go, the West Ashley Greenway. So we have been working on data collection, petition signatures, narratives from folks who use the bridge to try to put together a package to finally study this bridge and figure out what the best bike ped access could be. We did submit an application to the National Park Service. We were not selected. So we are still collecting petition signatures and narratives to help put together a new application. So we'd love y'all's help on that if you all have narratives or want to sign. Also, you all probably have heard Union Pier is likely to be redeveloped, and we are all in that public process right now. So as Morgan talked to you all about the People Pedal Plan, we want to make sure that Union Pier reflects not only what's in the People Pedal Plan, but also goes above and beyond that. The PUD language that the developers have put together is they are emphasizing non-vehicular movement and safety on this parcel, and we want to make sure that it's the best mobility design it could possibly be. So there are 2 more public meetings coming up for that opportunity. And then lastly, we have a whole bunch of stuff that we're waiting for. The Better North Bridge project, Michelle mentioned CARTA has changed up the route to accommodate people more safely over that bridge. We worked with the county to submit a federal grant application for a bike ped bridge there. We should hear back in June. The Rethink Folly Road phase 1 should be groundbreaking this year. And then the committee is working on finding funding for a phase 2 design. We've also done tons more road safety audits with DOT, and those should be going out to the public, not sure when, but at some point relatively soon. So that'll be Highway 17, both downtown and West Ashley, St. Andrews Boulevard, Ashley River Road, and Folly Road. The improvements to the Maybank crossing between Poorhouse and Public House, Those should be breaking ground in early 2024. And then Charleston Moves has some bike ped counts coming up that we'd love volunteers to help with. Lastly, my slide is screwed up, but these are all the ways that you can get in touch with us. If you want to get on our email list, if you want to keep up with all the things that we're trying to share and get the community involved with, highly recommend our Take Action page, Speak Up Now, on our website. That's where we keep the stuff that's right now, the big opportunities to take action. That's where you can go straight to and find everything. And I think that's nope. As Kaylin mentioned in the beginning, May is National Bike Month. Locally, Charleston Moves puts on a series of events for what we've termed Mobility Month, because we didn't want to leave any modes out. So we do still have some remaining events coming up for Mobility Month. Those are the 4 remaining events up there. But please, if you go to our website, charlestonmoves.org, there's a pop-up where you can get all the details about the whole month and all of these events and ways to participate. And I think this is the fastest presentation I've ever given. So that should be that, and I will stop sharing.
Thanks, Katie. Appreciate your willingness to be brief there.
No worries.
We do have a few minutes for questions. If anybody didn't get them in the chat box yet, please do so. I don't know if any more of the presenters after the presentations had any other questions or comments that they wanted to touch on. Okay, nope. Alrighty. We're just seeing some tools here. I don't know if everybody can see what you put out, Morgan, as far as links, but we can make sure that people that registered that got the information that you're putting out. Okay, well, I'm not seeing any more questions. So, and I know everybody's time is valuable, especially the very treasured lunchtime here during the workday. So thank you for learning about sustainable transportation options with us. You can also, for the city's initiatives with the climate action plan, if you could please check out our resilience and sustainability website at charleston-sc.gov. You'll be able to track that. You will also be able to find the full recording of today's presentation on the city's YouTube page. Okay, with that, I hope everybody has a great day, and thank you again for joining us.